As someone who's been through the motherfucking trenches, I understand what it's like to want to hurry up and get the fuck out of your house. I understand what it's like to be in a negative environment that's constantly putting you down, constantly putting you through trauma or abuse. And then when you bring up the fact that it is trauma and it is abuse, it's belittled and it's made to seem like it's not that big of a deal, or this is just normal, or this is just how things are, or what happens in this house stays in this house. No, it's not fucking normal. The things that you're going through is not normal. And don't let your family, do not let your parents try to gaslight you into thinking that the way that you're being treated is okay, because it's not. And your feelings are valid. If you're feeling hurt about a situation, about something that your parents said or did to you, or your family said or did to you, that is valid, because those are your emotions and you're entitled to feel however the fuck you want to feel about what has happened to you, because that is your experience. No one is entitled to tell you that it's like what you experience is okay when you know that it's not. That was like one of my biggest pet peeves, was when I was clearly upset about a situation, like when my mom would clearly like tell me things about my body, or just shame me, put me down, tell me all of these verbally abusive things, or even physically put her hands on me. And then when I want to express how that made me feel, or when I'm upset about it, oh, I'm too sensitive, or oh, I need to shut up before she gives me something to cry about. Like, girl, what? When you're like amidst the toxicity, no one wants to admit that the entire household is toxic. No one wants to admit that the situation is toxic because they're used to it. But when you're growing up and you're not used to it, or you want to get out of it, or you're starting to understand that the way that you're being treated is not fair, you're gonna seem like you just don't want to follow the rules, or you're just rebellious. Because that's exactly what happens to me. I'm the fucking nutcase of my family. I'm the crazy one. I'm the psychotic one. But yet I'm the only one who has had their apartment at 18 years old. I've been independent. I'm not laid up under a dude. I'm not pregnant. I'm working on loving myself. I'm working on doing so many things for my business. I'm becoming an entrepreneur. I'm making more money than I would have ever made working a 9-to-5. I'm breaking the poverty cycle. I'm breaking the generational curses in this family. I'm learning that abuse is not okay. Violence is not okay. The things that I've been taught growing up is not okay. I'm unlearning all of that shit. And I'm reclaiming the essence of myself that I lost when I was a kid, because I was put through so much shit, put through so much trauma. And if you resonate with anything that I'm saying and you're thinking, yeah, I need to get the fuck up out of here, I'm gonna tell you how. Because I did not know about this at the time when I was like 12 to 15 years old. So I relied on older men to meet my needs. I did stupid shit. I did chaotic things. I was that person in middle school who all the other kids would look at and be like, yeah, that girl, you see what she was doing? Like, my friends would always be calling me, asking me what I'm doing. Like, you we was always getting into some shit. I was always doing something. I was always doing some outlandish shit, y'all. Like, I'm telling y'all, I was 12, 13 years old, sneaking out of my house, going up to meet with older dudes, going to parties, and just doing whatever the hell I wanted to. Story time's coming later, because the amount of stories that I have, it's not funny, it's not cute, but now looking back on it, I can actually laugh, because I'm on the other side of that, and I realized all of the things I put myself through just to try to get out of my situation. And I'm telling you, you do not have to do that. You do not have to resort to any sort of substance to numb your pain. You don't have to rely on anyone else to provide for your needs if your parents aren't providing it for you. And I wish I would have known about this sooner, and I wish I would have studied it and applied it, because now that I know this, it has worked wonders in my life. And what that is the law of attraction and manifestation. If you've never heard of law of attraction or manifestation, you better get your journals out, you better get a pen, you better get a piece of paper, because I'm literally giving you the key to get out of your toxic situation. And I'm going to give you an easier and a simpler way to get past the toxicity, to actually get out of your environment, even if you are a minor, even if you don't have a credit score, if you don't have whatever the fuck. Because I promise you, you get this down, ways will be made. The impossible will be made possible, because that is how powerful you are. And when you're in chaos, when you're in toxicity, you don't think that you have any power. You don't think that you're able to do anything to get out of your situation. You don't think that you're ever going to become anything or do anything. Do you know how many times my parents told me I'm not going to be shit? That I'm just a hoe? That I'm just a bitch? Like, that I'm just going to end up a lifeless loser or some shit like that? Like, do you know how many times my mother has told me that she hated me? She wishes I was not here. She wishes I was unalived. Like, I could have easily done so many other things with my life just based on the shit that my parents were constantly telling me and the things that I've went through. But just going on this journey and discovering this information, which I'm going to show you, I'm going to tell you guys what the law of attraction and manifestation is, and then I'm going to show you how it's worked in my life, because at the time I didn't think it worked, but now looking back on my situation, I realized that it fucking saved me, and it can save you too. So the law of attraction is basically about, it's based on the idea that your thoughts, your beliefs, and your energy attracts your reality. And so the way that you think and the way that you feel, I'm reading from my notes, the way that you think and the way that you feel is like a magnet. Whatever you focus on, especially with emotion, starts to show up in your life, whether it's good or bad. How this applies is when you're growing up with your parents, they have their own thoughts, beliefs, and feelings, especially when you're in your mother's womb. Even though you're not born yet, even though you don't have your consciousness yet, you are an energy life form being formed in the womb. Pregnancy is still a mystery. Like, how the hell women are able to carry babies and go throughout life, like, is a mystery still. It's amazing. Women are so amazing. Off topic. But you are a life form being formed in your mother's womb. So you're absorbing all of her energy. And so if your mother is anything like mine, that shit was chaotic. That shit was toxic. My mother had me when she was 13, 14 years old. Imagine the energy that she was carrying with me in her womb. She didn't even want me alive. Like, I've been told stories about how she didn't even want me and she wanted to, me and her, because she just didn't want to have the baby. But miraculously, here I am, because obviously I have a purpose and I'm supposed to be here. But you can imagine all of the trauma that she's been through, especially the things that her parents went through. Like, all of that stuff is encoded into our DNA. It's absorbed to us through our mother's womb. So immediately when we come out of the womb, we're already encoded with some sort of DNA, especially if your mother has a lot of trauma or they have a lot of thoughts, feelings, and beliefs that are very negative. You come out of the womb with that because your energy, and you're absorbing all of your mother's energy. And then when you go throughout life, you have both parents, and you also have a family, and then you have your environment, and then you have like all sorts of teachers and friends. And predominantly our society is very negative, especially if you live in the US. Our society is full of hatred, it's full of greed, it's full of negativity, it's full of limitation, people telling you who you should be, what you can and cannot do, what you're capable of based on how much money you're making or what you look like. It's all very divided. And so you're fed all of this programming. You're fed all of these thoughts, these feelings, and these beliefs about yourself, about the world, and about life. And so all of this, all of these thoughts and these feelings and these beliefs are taught to you. They're passed down to you. So everything that your mom thinks, believes, and feels, and your dad thinks and feels and believes, that's what you're going to believe too, because they are literally teaching you. Your parents are your first teachers. Everything that they know within their own consciousness is going to be projected out onto you. So what this looks like is, like I said, my mother was very toxic. She had me at a very young age. So my programming was constantly self-hatred. She was telling me, she wasn't nurturing. She wasn't telling me that I'm so beautiful and I'm loved and she loves me so much. I don't even have pictures of her holding me and me smiling and her being happy. I don't have pictures like that. I don't have pictures with my mom and my dad together and me and just smiling and yeah, we're such a happy family. No, my family was very broken. My family was like very traumatic. And so the predominant thinking of my mom and dad was very negative. It was very self-sabotaging. I was fed the popular narrative of I have to go to school, work hard, get a really good job, and essentially work until I die. I was constantly enduring physical abuse even when I was a baby. Like, my mom would constantly hit me when I was a kid. If we did anything wrong, we meaning me and my siblings, that would mean that we're all getting our asses beat. Like, my mom used to call me fat. She used to pick on my appearance, especially when I got older. She used to just constantly be in a bad mood. She would come home and it would feel like walking on eggshells. It would feel like I'm waiting for her to do something, or for me to do something, or, I had to be perfect and put on this front. I had to put on a mask so that I could feel safe in the environment that I was in, because who knows what was going to set her off. I had to constantly feel like I was being the adult because my parents would always argue. I would be put in the middle of it. And so all of this I absorbed, and I started to form beliefs about myself. I started to have thoughts which were really negative. I was constantly depressed and anxious and sad all the time, and I didn't understand why. This was serious. It was so deep that I remember I was 12, 13 years old, looking myself in the mirror and saying, I hate you. I used to not wear contacts or glasses because I wanted to avoid looking at myself in the mirror. That's how bad it was. I couldn't say one good thing about myself. My parents completely destroyed my self-esteem with all of the negativity that they were thrown onto me. I don't even want to repeat all of the things that I've been told and all of the traumatic experiences that I've endured, because it's still very painful, and I'm still healing from being abandoned by my parents. I'm still healing from all of their negative words. So it's a constant journey, and it's a constant healing process. But just to give you perspective, those were the type of parents that I grew up with. Those are the types of thoughts and feelings and beliefs I had about myself. I couldn't even sit with myself for 5 seconds. Meditation, what is that? Because I couldn't stand to be alone with my mind. It was constantly ruminating with all of these negative things. And it wasn't because I was a bad person. It wasn't because I was just born this way. It was because of my parents. That's how they thought. That's how they felt. And so all of that got absorbed into me. And this is how the generational cycle, this is how the chain starts. Because when we don't know any different other than our environment and the people that we're around, we don't know that we are actively creating our reality through those thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. Because like I said, when you're in the womb, it's energy. And even when you come out of the womb, it's energy. Everything in life is energy. And so we're constantly sending out the same energy as our parents, and we're attracting the same results until it's so solidified that we believe that that is who we are. We believe that we are destined to live out the same path as our parents. We believe that we are destined to continue the same thing because we don't know any different. We're just continuously creating and creating these situations. And if you never get out of your negative environment, you're never going to be able to realize that you've been creating it all along. Is it your fault? No. But as you get older, you'll start to understand that it is your responsibility to, tongue twister, it is your responsibility to change it. And I would rather you know this information now at 12 and 17 than learn it at 18, 19 years old, when you have to deal with all your trauma and actually sit with all the things that you've been through and go on your healing journey. It's gonna happen either way. Like, you can choose to go on this healing journey now, or you could choose to do it later. But I highly suggest the younger the better. The more you know this information, the easier you'll be able to use it to create the life that you want. These thoughts and belief systems that you have adopted are not even yours. They're your parents. The way that you're thinking right now, that anxiousness, that's your parents. The negativity, your parents. The depression, your parents. Because you did not just get that out of nowhere. That's what I'll never understand. Like, parents and older generations seem to think that they had no contribution to the way that younger generations are acting. Like, they are our first teachers, like I said. So anything that your parents do, you're gonna end up doing too. because they're the ones that are feeding you the programming. They are the ones that are telling you what thoughts and beliefs to think. And you're forming this. Like, if you were in a positive household that was constantly telling you that you're beautiful and that you're loved, they constantly did things with you, they never abandoned you, they nurtured you and they showed you kindness and they told you that anything that you wanted to do that you could do. They didn't feed you the popular societal narrative that you had to go to school and get a good job. They said anything that you're passionate about, you can do. The world's your oyster. You want to travel, you go travel. They were happy. They were loving. They were supportive. They're not perfect, but yet you were able to feel like you could communicate with your parents. You felt like they were your safe place. They regulated your nervous system. They taught you how to deal with your emotions. They taught you how to work through your trauma. They guided you through life's tough situations. Those are the parents whose kids' lives are going to be so much better. They don't have room for depression or anxiousness or sadness. Doesn't mean that none of that shit comes up. It just means that they know how to deal with it in a way where it doesn't affect who they are. Because they know at the essence, the core of their being, they're not depressed, they're not anxious. It's just a feeling that comes and goes, but it's not part of who we are. But as a person who experiences trauma, a person who has a lot of abusive situations and parents that didn't nurture them, but it's instead betrayed them, abandoned them, neglected them, we think differently. We think that all of our negative emotions are ours. We think that these thoughts and belief systems that were given to us through our parents is us. We wear it like a personality. We wear it as an identity. And your personal reality is created through your personality. And the personality of people with a lot of traumatic situations is predominantly negative. It's full of lack and limitation. It's full of survival mode. It's full of flight or fight. Our nervous system is constantly dysregulated. And so we're in a constant state of chaos, always attracting chaotic situations, always attracting trauma and other things. That's why a lot of people in trauma situations go towards addiction. They go towards abusive partners because it feels like home in our nervous system. Knowing this in and of itself is so valuable because you'll begin to understand that none of this is your fault. You are not to blame for all of the shit that your parents put on you, even though they made it seem like it was your fault. Even though they made it seem like the mistakes that you made are your fault and that you're to blame for apparently all of the family's chaos and all of their situations. You're not. Your feelings are valid. The way you feel about a certain situation is valid, but you have to understand that's not the core of who you are. When you were born here, you were free. Before you were a kid and your parents started telling you all these things, you were completely unindoctrinated. You didn't have anyone in your ear telling you how life is supposed to work and who you are. You didn't have all these traumatic experiences. So you're free to think and feel and do and play. That's why kids are so happy most of the time. Because they're not fully programmed yet. They don't understand fully life and all of its complexity. Okay? So like, half of life's journey, I believe, is really getting back to the core essence of our inner child, the version of us that we were before we were told who we were. And so, like I said, law of attraction, all of this stuff is given to you, but it's not yours. At any point in time, you can choose to drop the baggage, drop the negative thoughts, drop the belief systems, and create your own. And when you're in this toxic household, this is a necessity to realize that all of the things that your parents are doing is not because of you. It's not because you're a bad person. It's not because it's your fault. It's not because of what you did. It's because of their own programming through their parents. They're operating unconsciously. They don't even know what they're doing. They're just doing what they've always done. And so they're not really thinking about all of the things that they're saying and they're doing and the way that they're behaving. They're just doing it because it feels familiar and they've been doing it for years. They've been abusing themselves for years. And so that's why they abuse you. That's why they do all these things to you. Does it make it right? No. But at least it puts an explanation behind all of the toxic behaviors that are going on. And you must understand that it's not your fault. I went for years thinking that all of the things that I did because I was in survival mode was my fault. I thought that because I made a mistake when I was younger, because I was going through so many complex emotions that I didn't even know how to deal with, and I just did some fucked up things and I was absolutely chaotic as a preteen and a teenager, I thought that I fucked my family up. I thought that all of these bad things that happened was because of me, because I didn't know how to just shut up and stay silent and listen and just endure the abuse, because I decided that I wasn't going to stay silent about it. So I carried that guilt with me for years. But I want to tell you, it's not your fault. You're not to blame. You were just a kid. All of the things that your parents are doing, it's not your fault. Your brain pretty much soaked up everything from the people closest to you. So if your parents said things like money doesn't grow on trees, you'll never make it doing that, be realistic, this is just how life is, or you're just being too sensitive, all of the things, then you probably started to believe that these things were true without even realizing. Not because you chose to, but because you were conditioned to believe in that way. And so this is what happens when you're in toxic environments. They make you believe that playing small is safe. They make you believe that you can't dream too big, that you're basically stuck to your circumstances, that survival is all there is. But just because someone raised you doesn't mean that they were right. Write that down. Just because someone raised you and birthed you does not mean that they are right. Just because they're older does not mean that they are right. They are programmed just like you are. So just because they say that something is not possible for you, or just because they're saying negative things about you, does not mean that it's true. So here's what law of attraction teaches that most toxic households don't. Your mind is yours. That's it. Most of the times in chaotic or traumatic situations, we're thinking, I need a safe place. I want to be independent. I want to move out and I want to get things of my own and I want to have my own shit so nobody can tell me what to do. And if you're a minor and if you're like 12 to 17 years old, your mind is yours. Your mind is your independence. Nobody can tell you what you can or cannot do with your own mind. That is your safe space. Your body is your safe space. Sorry, y'all. Tell me why my camera just decided to die on me mid-sentence. But anyways, back to what I was saying. You get your independence and your freedom through that. Most of the times we're thinking that once we get out of that environment and we have our own car, our own apartment, and we're able to finally be away from that toxic situation or those toxic people, that we're finally going to be at peace, we're going to be free, our life is going to be so much better. And it is true that you cannot heal in the same environment that traumatized you, but once you get out and you have not addressed the root cause of all of the shit that you've been through, you haven't had a time to heal or sit with your emotions or really process the stuff that you've been feeling throughout all the years that you've been staying with them, you're going to end up attracting the same people, the same chaotic situations that are going to bring up those wounds out of you. You're going to meet people that trigger your abandonment wounds, that trigger your rejection issues. You're going to constantly be drawn to chaotic situations. You're going to constantly feel depressed, anxious, sad. It's going to feel like you're right back in that environment without actually being there, because you're going to attract a whole new set of characters that bring it out of you. And this is because of your mind. It's because your nervous system is not wired to feel safe. It's not wired to be at peace. It's wired to be constantly in a state of survival mode. And when your body has been under tremendous amounts of stress that you haven't dealt with, it's going to keep seeking that out because that is its homeostasis. That is its normal place. And so when you're in these toxic environments, law of attraction is your way out, because it simply states that your belief systems, your thoughts, and your feelings create your reality. And just like what I've said and what I've been teaching you, since you know that all of the things that your parents are saying, doing, acting, feeling, and believing are just based off their programming and has nothing to do with you, that means that you are free to drop whatever they've been telling you and whatever thoughts, feelings, and beliefs you've created as a result of what they've been telling you and what you've been experiencing. You're able to finally create what you want. You're able to live in a reality of whatever you want, whatever you choose. And when you begin to embody and think and feel and believe and behave differently than your parents, even in the same household, The impossible will be made possible. It is a fact. This is law. This is universal law. Just like how we have laws in this physical 3D world, we also have universal laws in the metaphysical world, in the spiritual world, that nobody teaches us because it is powerful. Having this information is powerful, especially when you're in an undesirable situation, because you're not victim to your circumstances. It's not out of your control. Usually we think when we're in that environment that we have to do something externally to gain control. We try to gain control externally, but the power was always internally. You control your environment internally because everything is from the inside out. Everything is you projected out. It is all you. And when you understand this, then you can finally begin to create a reality in your head that's much different from the reality that you're experiencing in your home. The key is to trick your mind into believing that you're in a different reality than you're actually in by changing your thoughts, your beliefs, and your feelings. Your mind does not know the difference between what is real and what is imagined. So if you can trick your brain into believing that you're actually living in a reality where everything is working out for you. Maybe you're in your own car, you're in your apartment, and you're traveling or whatever that is. That's the first step. Figure it out. Figure out what it is that you want. Forget that you're currently in your environment. Forget that you have the parents that you have, that you're going through the abusive situations or the toxic situations. Forget all of it. Forget about who you are and everything you've known. Drop it. Think about what you want. And I actually want you to sit down and think about this. Like, I don't want you to half-ass this and say, oh, I just want a car, I just want an apartment, I just want this. I really want you to sit down and think about it. And if you need some tools or guidance on this, think about what you don't want. Or think about what you wanted when you were a kid. When somebody asks you, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? Did you say, I want to be a firefighter, or I want to be an artist, or a singer, writer, dancer? I know when I was younger, I wanted to be a writer. I used to go on Wattpad and write a bunch of little poems and stories, and that used to be my escape. That used to be my outlet. I loved writing. But my parents told me that being an author was unrealistic and that I would have to put in a lot of work or get a 4-year degree for that, and artists or authors don't really make that much money, so they kind of put that down. Think about the things that your parents suppressed within you. Think about the dreams that they crushed. Go back to that. Revisit that. What lights you on fire? What makes you happy? What brings you joy? What's something that you can get lost in for hours and hours without really noticing the time? Those are the things that you're supposed to be doing. That is your soul's purpose. And keep coming back to this. You may not know it at first. It may not come to you immediately. Try going out for walks, because nature is very healing. It's grounding, and we get our best ideas when we're out in nature. Try to get out as much as you can. Maybe an after-school club. Maybe some other activity that you can do. Maybe a hobby. Start doing those things to get out more and more. And then suddenly, the idea may come to you, or you may be doing something that you enjoy, like journaling, which I highly suggest you do. I know sometimes in toxic households, that's not really accessible, because I know my mom used to read my shit, go through my shit all the time. So if you can't do that, maybe you can do your phone notes app and delete it. Maybe you can write pages at school and then rip it up and throw it away. Any way for you to get a creative outlet, do that, please. And start thinking about what you want. Because I'm telling you, anything that you desire, you can create. If you want enough money to save up for an apartment, think about you already having that. Think about it already being in your hands. Get visually descriptive as possible. Look at yourself receiving that check, being so happy that you're able to finally get out of your household. Think about you traveling the world. Think about you doing that thing that you've always loved to do. Create a vision for your life. Because that is going to be your mental movie that you're going to play when you're in that household. So it's kind of like dissociating, but not really dissociating. It's kind of like a healthy delusion from your current environment. So you're going to be physically in the house, but you're not going to be mentally there. Mentally, you're off in an oasis, living your best life, living your dreams and your fantasies. And you may think that this is stupid or silly, but I'm telling you, this is how your mind creates. This is how you imagine a new reality. This is how you bring forth opportunities. Because, like I said, once you envision something and you feel it with every fiber of your being that this already exists before any physical, tangible evidence, it will come to you. It is literally impossible for it not to come to you, because your thoughts and your feelings must be in alignment with your reality. And when your thoughts and your feelings are no longer negative, they're no longer associated with the toxic environment that you're in, things will happen to pull you out of that environment. I'll give you an example. When I was 15 years old, that's when I started getting into law of attraction and manifestation. It was COVID 2020, and there was a huge CPS case, or Child Protective Services case, going on with my parents. And my mom, frankly, did not want me in the house because I had just got out of a group home. It was a whole chaotic mess. And so I went to go stay with my grandpa. And while I was staying with my grandpa, I was looking up a whole bunch of things on YouTube, and I found the amazing world of law of attraction and manifestation. And that's when I started looking up, like, there's like little spells. Witchcraft was really popular at that time. Like, people were on there making like money potions and all of these different things and crystals. And I was honestly really drawn to all of this stuff. I was like, whoa, like, this was actually teaching me that I could create my own reality and that everything was possible. And so it gave me a lot of hope. So I like went full throttle on this. I remember I used to be, I used to get a little, it's so crazy now that I think back on this. I used to get a little piece of paper, and the 369 method was really popular back then. So I would write, I am not in my household, I'm living with my siblings, because that's what I wanted to do at the time. I wanted to go live with my half siblings, which were my dad's kids, because at the time I felt like they understood the situation, they knew how my parents were, and they offered their house to me. They said they would take me in, and so that's really where I wanted to be. But my parents would not let that happen. They were just like, no, like, you're gonna stay with us. And so I was essentially manifesting without manifesting. I didn't fully understand or grasp the concept of what it was, but I had my attention focused on getting out of my situation, getting out of my grandpa's house. And so I remember writing it down all the time, every single day, thinking about going over there. I was constantly in communication with those siblings that I wanted to stay with. And I even went as far as to make a little potion. Like, I remember my grandparents were probably in there thinking, like, the hell is this girl doing? Like, my mom too, she was looking at me like, girl. And even the niece that was staying there with my grandparents had ended up taking me to my very first metaphysical shop, where I found a whole bunch of crystals, and it was just the best experience ever, because I felt like I belonged. That was like one of the first moments where I truly felt like, this is what I'm supposed to do, this is where I belong. And so I was in the kitchen, I was mixing like cinnamon and water and like doing all these potions and spraying it around, because I was like, oh, no, I'm keeping my mom's negative shit away from me. I was making a spray to try to keep my mom away from me, and like just woosah, trying to cultivate a positive energy in a negative environment. And what ended up happening was, I remember we were going on Zoom for a court case that my parents had, and my mom ended up getting so pissed off about whatever happened in the court case. I was half there, because, side note, this will be a story time for later, I ended up taking some shrooms that day, or some LSD the night before, and so I was like low-key out of my motherfucking mind. Story time coming on that later, I promise. But I wasn't even fully there, so something ended up happening in that court case to where she told my grandpa, have her pack her things, I don't want her there when I get home, or when I come to pick up her siblings. And I was like, don't mind if I motherfucking do. So I packed my shit and I went to go live with my siblings. That is the first time that manifestation has truly worked for me, because I put my attention, I put my energy, my thoughts, and my feelings on moving out of my parents' house and shit just ended up happening like that. I had no idea how, I had no idea when, and I didn't even know I was manifesting at the time. I'm saying all these things and putting the pieces together now, but at the time I thought it was just purely coincidental. Like, I didn't fully grasp what manifestation was. And this spiritual practice just got deeper and deeper. Like, I just went deeper down the rabbit hole of spirituality. I got into tarot, started doing like more witchcraft, like good spells and stuff, like not the hexing and all that shit. Like, I was just more into like potions and love spells, as in like self-love spells. And then I was really heavy into like crystals, like I said, and manifestation, law of attraction. And I really started like reading more books about it, and I started getting more interested in it. And ironically, the sister that I was staying with initially didn't end up working out. It ended up really badly, so I went to go stay with my sister-in-law, and ironically enough, she was into the very same things that I was, so I felt like I had a safe space to actually like do these practices without being judged, because my mom judged me hard as shit for all the stuff that I was doing. Like, it was just, anyways, that was the first evidence of manifestation for me. So apply that to your situation. Like, things like that can happen. You can be putting your energy and your thoughts and your feelings into even just getting out of your situation, and shit like that happens. And what I will say is that it may not happen in a fun and easy and just whimsical way. It's probably going to be fucking chaotic. All the times that I have manifested something, or I have left a chaotic situation, it was usually very bad. Like, initially I thought it was horrible and that life just got 10 times worse, but it ended up working out in my favor. Like, for example, the more I started healing and the more I started growing, I started becoming unaligned with the environment that I was in with my sister-in-law. And what ended up happening was she kicked all my shit out, and I ended up homeless in a homeless shelter. But that was the best thing that could have ever happened to me, because that ended up with me getting so much support, so many resources from being in foster care that I didn't even know that I had, that ended up getting me my own car, my own apartment, and just leading me on my entrepreneurship journey and on my path to financial freedom. I'm in a much better place in my life, and it was all because of law of attraction and manifestation. Throughout all the situations that I've had in my life since I was 15, I had the mentality of, what can I learn from this? And everything is happening for a reason. All this stuff in my life is because I'm gonna benefit out of this. There's a lesson in here that I'm supposed to learn. There's something that life is teaching me. And so I took that and I made it positive. I alchemized it. And that is what you need to do. That is how you are going to get out of your toxic situation. Take what you are currently given and transmute it, alchemize it, make it into something that is going to benefit you. So the first step was to have a vision for your life. Think about what you want out of life and create a mental movie out of this. So this means that every single night, every single morning, and all throughout the day, you are going to be visualizing this scenario. You're going to even create affirmations for the scenario. So if it's like, I want to travel the world, or simply, I just want to get out of this situation, you're going to think about an ideal situation that you would want to be in. So are you living on your own? Are you living with a friend? Are you living somewhere else? Are you traveling? Like, do you have enough money to save up for your own stuff? Do you have a car? What is it that you want right now? Think about that. Think about yourself experiencing it. This is the movie that you're going to create. Imagine that you're starring in a movie and you're now at the plot twist. Like, you had so much shit that you were going through, and now you're at the climax where shit's about to turn and things just start getting good. So imagine yourself in that movie. Imagine you living out your dream life, living out that situation, and feel it. The key is to feel, imagine, think, and believe as if it were already here. Because the truth is, it is. I'll do another video on how, like, I'll do a deeper video on law of attraction and manifestation, but for right now, I'm just giving you the basics of what you need to know to start thinking outside of your situation and to give you hope that things can change, because they can and they will. So create that mental movie, create affirmations for it. So if you're thinking about getting out of your household, you can say something like, I'm so happy and so grateful that I'm living here. I'm so happy and I'm so grateful that I currently have my car. Or I am so grateful that everything is working out for me. I love life and life loves me. Like, take all of the negative beliefs that are in your head and transmute them into positive affirmations. So maybe if you're thinking negatively about yourself, change all of that to positive. Or if you're just whatever feelings come up as a result of you imagining your scenario, and maybe there's some negative things that come up, turn those negative things into positive ones and write those affirmations down and also repeat them. You want to listen to subliminals at night. You want to listen to affirmations as much as you can. When when you have on your headphones, play affirmations. I'll list some affirmations that I personally use in the description below, but these affirmations are literally going to raise your frequency and raise your vibration, because remember, everything is energy. So the thoughts that you're thinking, the feelings that you're feeling, that is the signal that you are sending out that is attracting the same thing back to you. And when you're in a negative environment, your family and everybody else around you is usually sending the signals of negativity, which is transmitted to you. Oh, that's also the superpower. Okay, so it may be hard. You may be thinking like, this is hard. Like, how can I imagine myself in a different reality? How can I feel good feelings when I'm constantly being traumatized, or when I'm constantly in this like negative environment, or people are telling me all sorts of things? Take whatever they give you and transmute it. So they throw you rocks, you turn them into gems. Start thinking that every time your name is mentioned, that's going to benefit you. All their energy that's coming towards you is going to contribute to that dream life. It may sound delusional now, but really, all of the energy that they are giving you is actually just helping you. It's just energy. Energy is neutral. We're the ones that put the meaning behind positive or negative. We're the ones that associate things with good or bad. And so you can start thinking or having the perception that anytime they say something about you, anytime they do something, you can transmute that and believe that it's going to work out in your favor, or believe that all the things that they are giving you is actually going to be transmuted into positive, and it's going to actually end up benefiting you anyway. That's what I would say. And the third thing I would say is to work on healing now. So do not suppress your emotions. Allow yourself to feel what you're feeling in that environment. Get in therapy if you can, or have at least a trusted adult that you can talk to. Again, if you have a journal, I highly recommend you writing down things in a journal, or trying to find some sort of outlet to where you can actually heal. I will list resources down in the description below for different things that you can do to heal in your environment. Shadow work is very, very, very important, because that's basically getting to the root of our trauma and understanding why we think, act, and behave in the way that we do. That's going to help you with law of attraction. Further, I will also link all the stuff for law of attraction down below. Like, all the materials that I have, you will have, they will be down in the description. And please don't hesitate to reach out to me personally if you have resonated with anything that I'm saying, or if you need more clarification. I'm here to help. I got you, because I'm on the complete other side of the situation. I understand what it's like to go through trauma and chaos, and I would have wished I had someone making a video like this telling me how to get out of my situation, and I wish that I had someone who understood what I was going through. So I get you, I feel you, I understand how hard it is, especially when you feel like you have no control, or you have no power, or you feel like you can't do anything. I get it. I get it more than you'll ever understand, which is why I feel like I found the key to getting out of these situations, especially if you're a minor. So first thing, mental movie. You're going to create that mental movie. You're going to have a vision for your life. You're going to start creating affirmations. You're going to listen to affirmations. You're going to try to think and do things as positive as you can. You're going to repeat that mental movie. You're going to repeat your affirmations, constantly be absorbing and listening to positive stuff. That's another thing. You also want to surround yourself with like a bunch of books, a bunch of resources, which, like I said, I'll link down below. And then after that, if you encounter any negativity with your parents, or anything that is hurtful, you're going to imagine that the things that they're sending your way is actually energy that is being used for the greatest and highest good. You're going to imagine that they're throwing you rocks, and you're turning that shit into gems. You're transmuting that energy for your own good. And then lastly, you're going to work on healing as much as you can. You're going to try to get yourself in therapy, or you're going to talk to a trusted adult. You're going to journal about your feelings. You're going to feel your feelings. Maybe you'll pick up a mindfulness practice. So when you feel yourself getting stressed out, you're going to breathe in for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4, breathe out through a count of 8. Look up breath work. Again, everything's gonna be in the description, girl. You don't even gotta do nothing. It's just down below in the video, all the stuff that I'm mentioning right now. You pick up a mindfulness practice. Have something that you can turn to when shit gets hard, and start to unpack and realize all of the shit that you're going through and why you're going through it, and get back to the layers, unpack the layers of yourself that you've created as a result from your trauma. Okay, I hope this helped, y'all. Let me know if you want a part 2. I have so much to say about this, and genuinely I hope this helped you. And if you're going through a traumatic situation, like I said, you are not alone. And let me know down in the comments how this has helped you. Give me a comment. Let me know what you're going through. Use this as an outlet. Use this community as an outlet, because it is here for you. And I love you guys. I will see you in the next video.